In the shadowed vaults of the Smithsonian Institution, beneath layers of dust and forgotten relics from the American Civil War, a single tarnished locket was unearthed in 1963, its inscription reading, E and S, Forever Bound, 1864. Inside, two miniature portraits, a Union soldier with piercing blue eyes and a Creole beauty from New Orleans. Historians dismissed it as a curiosity, but what they couldn't know, what the locket concealed, was a love story that unraveled the hidden threads of one of America's bloodiest conflicts, a tale of espionage, betrayal, and passion that could have altered the course of history. This is the true chronicle of Elias Hawthorne and Sabine Duval, pieced together from declassified Union records, Confederate diaries, and letters smuggled across battle lines. Charleston Harbor, South Carolina, April 12, 1861. The first cannon shot of the Civil War boomed across the night sky, igniting Fort Sumter and fracturing a nation. Elias Hawthorne, a 24-year-old captain in the 7th New York Infantry, descended from Massachusetts Pilgrims and raised in the bustling shipyards of Brooklyn, stood on the deck of the USS Baltic, his regiment's transport vessel anchored just beyond the fray. Elias was no pampered officer. His hands were calloused from apprenticing as a blacksmith before enlisting, his frame lean and wiry from hauling coal and forging irons. At 6 feet tall, with sun-bleached hair and eyes like polished sapphires, he cut a figure that turned heads in the saloons of New York. But it was his mind, sharp as a bayonet, schooled in rudimentary Latin from his father's library, that caught the eye of General Irvin McDowell, who plucked him from the ranks for special assignment. Elias's orders were classified: scout Southern sympathizers in occupied territories, gather intelligence on blockade runners. "You're Irish blood on your mother's side," McDowell had growled during their briefing in Washington. "You've got the gift of gab. Use it." Elias's mother, Siobhan O'Connor, had fled the potato famine in 1847, marrying widower Jeremiah Hawthorne in a Brooklyn tenement. She taught him resilience and the old Gaelic songs of forbidden love. Little did Elias know, those ballads would soon mirror his own fate. Meanwhile, 800 miles south in the humid labyrinth of New Orleans, Sabine Duval awoke to the same cannon echoes reverberating through newspaper headlines. At 20, Sabine was the epitome of Creole allure, olive skin glowing like polished mahogany, raven hair cascading in loose waves to her waist, and emerald eyes that sparkled with mischief and defiance. Born in 1841 to a French planter father, Henry Duval, and his quadroon mistress, Marie Laveau's distant cousin, yes, the infamous voodoo queen herself lent whispers of mysticism to the family lore, Sabine navigated New Orleans' rigid caste system with the grace of a quadroon plissé, a kept woman of color afforded luxuries by wealthy white protectors, yet forever barred from full society. Sabine's world was the vibrant French Quarter, wrought iron balconies dripping with jasmine, gas lamps flickering over absinthe dens, and the ceaseless thrum of steamboat horns on the Mississippi. Her father, ruined by poor cotton harvests and mounting debts, had arranged her plissé status with a minor Confederate official, Pierre Lafayette, ensuring her education in French literature, piano, and the arts of subtle persuasion. But Sabine dreamed beyond silk gowns and shadowed liaisons. She devoured Victor Hugo's Les Misérables smuggled from Paris, penned poetry in secret notebooks, and volunteered at the Ursuline convent, tending wounded soldiers as the war clouds gathered. New Orleans, the Confederacy's jewel with its 168,000 souls, half enslaved, half free, teetered on the brink. Federal blockades choked its trade, yellow fever stalked its streets. Sabine felt the pulse of rebellion, but her heart yearned for something purer, liberty, not just for her people, but for all. Fate's first collision came months later, in April 1862, when Admiral David Farragut's fleet thundered up the Mississippi, capturing New Orleans after a bloodless siege. The largest city in the Confederacy fell without a shot fired in its defense. Elias's regiment disembarked amid cheering Union sympathizers and sullen rebels. Chaos reigned. Confederate General Mansfield Lovell fled, leaving warehouses ablaze with cotton bales to deny the federal spoils. Elias, tasked with securing the custom house, patrolled the levees lined with piragos and flatboats. It was there, under a magnolia tree heavy with blooms, that Elias first saw Sabine. She was aiding a group of freedwomen evacuating contraband, escaped slaves hidden in root cellars, when a Union patrol roughed up an elder. Sabine stepped forward, her French-tinged English sharp as a stiletto. "Messieurs, these are civilians. Do you guard if you forget chivalry?" Elias intervened, his voice calm authority. "Stand down, boys. Ladies right." Their eyes met, blue on emerald, and time fractured. She saw in him not the enemy, but a kindred fire. He saw a storm in human form. "Captain Hawthorne, at your service," he said, tipping his kepi. "Elias." "Sabine Duval," she replied, extending a gloved hand. Her touch lingered a beat too long. "Beware the bayous, Capitaine. They swallow the unwary." That night, in the candlelit parlor of her Canal Street townhouse, its courtyard fountain bubbling amid potted ferns, Sabine hosted a forced gathering for occupying officers. Elias attended, uniform starched, saber gleaming. Over gumbo spiced with Philly powder, sassafras leaves ground by Choctaw hands, and cornbread baked with cracklins, they spoke. Sabine probed his Yankee roots. He marveled at her tales of Mardi Gras crews and Congo Square dances, where enslaved Africans drummed rhythms that birthed jazz. "New York has its 5-point slums," he confessed, "but nothing like your voodoo queens and pirate ghosts. Lafitte's ghost still haunts the Cabildo, they say." She laughed, a sound like wind chimes in a hurricane. "Ghosts are real here, Elias. Jean Lafitte smuggled slaves to freedom. Perhaps you'll join them." Under the table, her foot brushed his boot. Accidental? By midnight, as banjos wailed slave spirituals repurposed as rebel anthems, they slipped to the balcony. Stars wheeled above the river. "Why fight for Lincoln's proclamation?" she whispered. "It frees us, but chains you to hypocrisy. Your North still binds apprentices like slaves." He cupped her chin. "Freedom's messy, Sabine. But your eyes, they make me believe in it." Their first kiss tasted of bourbon and rebellion, lips meeting soft then fierce, her fingers tangling in his hair as the city lights blurred. Their affair ignited like Greek fire, secret, consuming. Elias's intelligence work demanded discretion. Sabine's status as a placé courted scandal. They met in hidden spots, the moss-draped alleys of the Treme, where free people of color brewed tinctures from sassafras and alligator root, the steamy kitchens of Galatories, sampling oysters Rockefeller precursors, and steamboat picnics on Lake Pontchartrain, where she taught him to shuck Gulf shrimp and dance the bambula. History pulsed around them. New Orleans under Butler's iron roll. Beast Butler hanged suspected spies from Lafayette Square lampposts. Elias uncovered a ring funneling quinine, vital for malaria, to Vicksburg via blockade runners, like the CSS Ivanhoe, captained by Irish Confederate John Newland Maffitt. Sabine, privy to gossip from her lover Pierre's circle, fed him crumbs. The Ivanhoe docks had passed Christian under moonless skies. But love deepened. One sultry July eve, 1862, in her attic chamber scented with vetiver and jasmine oil, they consummated. Moonlight silvered her naked form as she unbound her corset, whalebone stays clattering to the cypress floor. Elias traced the curve of her hip, marveling at skin like café au lait silk. "You're a vision," he breathed. She guided his hands, arching as he kissed the hollow of her throat, down to the swell of her breasts, nipples hardening like ripe figs. Their bodies entwined slow at first, exploratory, reverent, then urgent. She gasped his name as he entered her, rhythms building like a Creole quadrille, sweat slick and fervent, climax crashing in shared shudders. Afterward, tangled in mosquito-netted sheets, she whispered, "Mon cœur. In this war, love is our only republic." Yet shadows loomed. Sabine's mixed heritage made her a target. Union officers leered, Confederates branded her traitor. Elias faced court-martial risks for consorting with the Southern Jezebel. He gifted her the locket, crafted by a French quarter silversmith from melted Spanish doubloons, with their miniatures painted by itinerant artist Eugene Warren. By autumn, Elias transferred to General Benjamin Butler's staff, rising to major for decoding a cipher revealing Jefferson Davis's plans to arm submarines, precursors to the H.L. Hunley, which sank the USS Housatonic in 1864. Sabine, meanwhile, began her own covert dance. Recruited by Confederate spy Rose O'Neill Greenhouse Network, the Washington seductors who smuggled Bull Run secrets, Sabine passed Union laundry lists, innocuous until cross-referenced with ship manifests, revealing troop movements to Pierre.
Spring 1863 thrust them into history's maw. Ulysses S. Grant's Vicksburg campaign aimed to split the Confederacy, besieging the Mississippi River fortress holding 30,000 rebels. Elias joined Grant's staff as liaison, marching through bayous swarming with cottonmouths and rebel guerrillas. Sabine, sensing opportunity, volunteered as a nurse with the Confederate field hospital, her satchel hiding dispatches. Their paths crossed in Raymond, Mississippi, May 12, a skirmish prelude to Champion's Hill. Amid apple orchards blooming white, Elias's horse threw a shoe. He sought a blacksmith. Sabine, bandaging a wounded rebel cousin, spotted him. "Capitaine, what devilry!" She pulled him into a root cellar, hearts pounding. No time for niceties. They coupled fiercely against cool earth walls, her skirts hiked, his trousers unlaced, a frantic union stifled by her palm over his mouth. "Go," she urged after, slipping a note, coordinates for Pemberton's lines. Vicksburg's siege was hell, 47 days of starvation, bombardment. Grant's 77,000 encircled 33,000 Confederates. Rats sold for $5 a pair. Elias coordinated naval guns from the USS Cairo, first ironclad sunk by mine, torpedo. Sabine smuggled morphine via tunnels, witnessing Grant's tunnel mines detonate under rebel forts, earth erupting like biblical wrath. Her love for Elias warred with loyalty. She burned a dispatch naming his position. Climax came July 3, 1863. Vicksburg surrendered. July 4, Independence Day, a bitter Union triumph, splitting Dixie. Elias entered the city, gaunt but victorious, finding Sabine amid the dead. They reunited in a gutted cathedral, stained glass shattered. "I nearly betrayed you," she sobbed. "And I you," he admitted, holding the locket. Their embrace led to lovemaking on an altar cloth, tender, redemptive, bodies healing war's wounds with slow caresses, whispers of eternity. Word of Gettysburg, July 1 through 3, 1863, 51,000 casualties, reached them via telegraph. Lee's invasion crushed, Pickett's charge a slaughter. Elias promoted to colonel, tasked with Pinkerton agents tracking Lincoln assassination plots, foreshadowing 1865. Sabine, exposed as double agent when Pierre discovered love letters, fled north disguised as laundress. Atlanta Campaign, 1864. Sherman's march to the sea loomed. Elias scouted Sherman's rails to hell tactics, totaling crops. Sabine, in Richmond, infiltrated Verena Gavis's circle, feeding Union contacts via balloon airmen dropping messages. Their letters, coded in Gaelic phrases, smuggled by Quaker nurses. Mocree, my heart. Ta gra agam ort, I love you. Elias, in Shenandoah's valleys, I fight for our future. Tragedy struck September 1864. Sabine, captured during a Richmond raid, imprisoned in Libby Prison, dank cells for 1,200 officers. Elias, on Grant's Overland Campaign staff, 50,000 casualties at Cold Harbor, pulled strings via Allen Pinkerton. She endured fever, shackles. He bribed guards with gold eagles. Rescue came November 1864, Union cavalry raid. Reunited in Washington, they stole nights at Willard Hotel, site of Lincoln's inauguration. Their passion peaked, in clawfoot tubs steaming with rosewater, she astride him, water sloshing as gasps echoed, later on four-poster bed, exploring every curve with lips and tongues, orgasms like fireworks over the Potomac. April 9, 1865, Appomattox Courthouse. Lee surrendered 28,000 to Grant. Elias witnessed, arm broken at Five Forks. Sabine waited in New Orleans, freed by emancipation. Reconstruction dawned. Freedmen's Bureau aided 4 million. Black codes curtailed rights. But joy fractured. Elias recalled north for mustering out. Sabine, accused of spying, facing tribunal. In a tear-streaked goodbye on the levee, steamboat Sultana whistled shrieking, ironically exploding weeks later, killing 1,800. He vowed return. The locket binds us. Sabine's trial. Union prosecutor cited her Pierre links. Elias testified. She saved lives, fed us intel turning tidewater. Acquitted, but Pierre, vengeful, challenged Elias to duel. Dawn fog on Barataria Bay, pistols at 20 paces. Elias winged, Pierre killed. Last duel on U.S. soil. Epilogue. Echoes eternal. Post-war, Elias entered politics, serving as New York congressman pushing 14th Amendment citizenship. Sabine opened a school for freedwomen, blending Creole curriculum with abolitionist zeal. Married 1867 in Brooklyn, interracial union scandalous. They had 3 children, twins in 1868, another 1870. Elias gifted the plantation house on Lake Pontchartrain, restored amid yellow fever epidemics. 1878 killed 4,000. Sabine died 1892, pneumonia after nursing flood victims, 1890 Mississippi deluge. Elias followed 1901, buried Arlington. The locket? Donated by granddaughter Eleanor Roosevelt, distant FDR kin, unlocking archives, 200-plus letters detailing spy networks rivaling Rose Greenhouse, influencing Farragut's Mobile Bay capture, damn the torpedoes. Their love, a beacon amid 620,000 war dead, proves passion's power over powder. In Charleston's battery, where it began, lovers still whisper, Elias and Sabine, forever bound.